Good evening and welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. I hope everyone is doing well on this Wednesday evening. We're back with another massive show to bring you guys tonight. But before we jump into that, do me one small favour, smash a like on today's video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let's get straight on into it. On the show tonight, we are going to be talking a little bit about Sofyan Amrabat, with apparently it looking likely that he will go back to Fiorentina in the summer. We'll also be talking a little bit about the summer transfer window that's just happened and a shock discovery that was announced or revealed today about a certain defender that we were interested in. We'll talk about that. Also talk a little bit about the stadium as well. More information coming out about that thick and fast. A little bit about kind of the next few games, just about the current position Manchester United are in, as well as talking a bit about, what we're expecting from Jim Ratcliffe with his stake apparently about to be confirmed in the next couple of days. Because the thing we have to remember, right, just to say is Jim Ratcliffe hasn't actually even bought the 25% yet. It hasn't been confirmed. So everyone has to remember that. Right. But as always, guys, I invite you to have your say on all things Manchester United in the comment section below. And the question that I've got for you guys today is this. What would you do with Sofyan Amrabat? Would you keep him? I think we have to pay about an additional £15 million if we want to sign him in the summer. We've paid £10 million already as a kind of loan fee. If we want to sign him in the summer, we have to give Fiorentina another £15 million. So the question is simple. What would you do with Sofyan Amrabat? Would you keep him or would you send him back to Fiorentina? I'm going to get a poll going for all of the people For all the people watching live, obviously you can get involved in the poll. If you're watching this back on repeat, then obviously you can just get involved in the comment section. Let me just set up the poll quickly. 1 second. Everybody smash a like on the video whilst I'm doing this. Okay, there we go. So the question is simple. The question is, what would you do with Amrabat? Sign permanently or send back to Fiorentina? I'll give you a bit of context of where this story's come from as well, just so everyone knows, why we're talking about this and why it's in the video subject, because obviously I think that is important. So we did speak about this on the show a couple of weeks ago, I think, actually, but let's just give you a bit of a recap. But the headline this afternoon is that apparently Manchester United will not sign Sofyan Amrabat in the summer. They will let him go back to Fiorentina. This is coming out from a couple of very reliable journalists here in the UK today. Now, in my opinion, I think that's the correct decision. I don't think we need Sofyan Amrabat. I just don't, to be honest. I think he's an okay player. He's better than McTominay, definitely. Is he any better than Fred? I'm not sure. Is he better than Eriksen? Defensively, yes, but every other element of his game, probably not. It's a no for me. I think we send him back, personally. I know people will say, he hasn't had a chance, but once Mason Mount is back fully fit, Kobbie Mainoo's probably going to start every single game now. Like, when is Mason Mount going to... when is Sofyan Amrabat going to ever play? Scott McTominay gets picked, whether you like it or not. Casemiro's obviously going to be picked at the moment. Like, I would be very surprised if we saw very much of Sofyan Amrabat before the end of the season. And for me personally, I just don't think there's much point in signing him on a permanent deal. I really, really don't. I had such high expectations for this player. I thought he was going to, really, really elevate the team. But now that Kobbie Mainoo has broken through, I just don't think we need him personally. I think Kobbie Mainoo is levels above him, genuinely. And I'm not just saying that. I think Kobbie Mainoo has way more positive attributes to his game than Sofyan Amrabat. So why would we spend money on somebody who's probably just going to sit on the bench? Now, I know people will say, we need a big squad and all the rest of it. I get it. But the reality of it is, okay, at this moment in time, when you look at our midfield, Kobbie Mainoo and Casemiro are clearly the two best midfielders, right? You look through the rest of the squad, including people who are out on loan, people who, are still technically employed by Manchester United. So if we go through that together really, really quickly, right? So in that midfield position, you have Scott McTominay, Christian Eriksen, Kobbie Mainoo, Bruno Fernandes, Mason Mount, Hannibal, and a couple of others as well, which I've probably forgotten. You've got about 7 or 8 players to occupy 2 positions. And I think, the best 2 are Casemiro and Kobbie Mainoo, in my opinion. Those are the best 2. After that, maybe Sofyan Amrabat gets a sniff, but still, I think, McTominay seems to be picked more than him. Eriksen would be picked more than him. And I think Mason Mount would be picked more than him. Now, I know they're different types of profiles of players, but I just haven't been that impressed with Sofyan Amrabat. I just haven't. I don't think he looks that great. Personally, that's just my opinion. And the thing we have to remember is, right, he's going to cost us about £15 million. Okay? He's going to cost us about an extra £15 million. We're trying to not spend money on players that have no resale value as well. We're trying to bring in a younger squad. He's 28, Sofyan Amrabat. I think he's 29 this year. Like, you'll sign him on a 2 or 3 year contract. He'll probably play some football for the first season or two, and then we'll probably just sit on the bench and that'll be it. I just don't think it's the kind of signings we should be looking at. I think we need to be looking at young, youthful players in their early 20s. Cesar says, Kieran, do you see Robin Van Persie as our manager? Robin Van Persie? Let me read that again. Somebody in the comments is saying, Kieran, do you see Robin Van Persie as our manager in 5 years? What is your take on his potential? Granted, never seeing him as a manager, but based on his football IQ. I would be shocked if Van Persie was ever the Man United manager, to be honest. Like, I don't know. Do you really think that would happen? I don't think so. Obviously, he's been at Carrington the last couple of days, hasn't he? He's been doing some part of his FIFA badge to become a coach. I think he's working at Feyenoord as well at the moment, isn't he, with the under-18s? But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure about that personally. I don't think we'll see Van Persie as the United manager, especially not within 5 years. Because if you're going off that argument, then surely you could say, oh well, maybe Wayne Rooney would be the manager. Yeah, it's a no from me. I want the best in class. I don't want ex-players just because they've played for Man United to be the manager. Like, I'm not into that. Magic Hotel says, do we know how good Ahmad is yet? No, not really. I mean, what I've seen of Ahmad, he looks quality. Obviously, his time in the Championship with Sunderland, he was unbelievable. But obviously, that is the Championship. It's a completely different level. But I definitely would like to see more of Amrabat. But yeah, get involved in the poll, guys. And if you are watching it back on repeat, you can let me know in the comment section. What would you do with Sofyan Amrabat? Would you keep him or would you send him back? Yeah, let's have a look. Yeah, but in short, Robin, I don't think Van Persie will be the United manager in 5 years. Like, that seems a little bit too premature. Maybe within 20 years, maybe, like if he does well. But yeah. Anyway, let's crack on with the rest of the show. Let's talk a little bit about Kim Min-jae. Now, I know people are going to be like, why are we talking about Kim Min-jae? But the reason I wanted to bring this into the show is just to show everybody how bad our summer transfer window was, how much money was wasted, how stupid we were. Now, the Napoli president, so the president of Napoli, has come out today doing an interview, and he says the real fee we received from Bayern Munich for the sale of Kim Min-jae in the summer was actually 42 million euros, not 57 million euros as some media reported. Now, we know for a fact that Kim Min-jae was the number one target for Manchester United. We know that Erik ten Hag was desperate for a new defender, right? Now we hear that Bayern Munich got this Kim Min-jae for 42 million euros. And you're probably thinking, I don't really get what your point is here. 42 million euros is only 35 million pounds. I mean, that is absolutely incredible for Bayern Munich. 35 million pounds for one of the best up and coming, or maybe you could even say one of the best defenders in the world, one of the best centre-backs. Just picture that for a minute, right? John Murta and Richard Arnold were stupid enough to pay 55 million plus add-ons for Mason Mount, when even if he's fit, he's probably never going to play, instead of signing Kim Min-jae for 20 million less, and he would have gone straight into that first team, especially with them knowing that Lisandro Martinez was injured, especially with them knowing that Maguire's not good enough, Lindelof's not good enough. I just think it's embarrassing, and I just think that we had an absolute shocker in the summer, to be honest. And to now find out that, Bayern Munich only paid 35 million pounds, like, that is so disappointing. I'm sorry. I know we can't change the past, but all we can do is look to the future. And we just have to believe that Jim Ratcliffe, Paul Mitchell, if he's the director of football, Omar Barada, we just have to hope that they don't make these same mistakes again, because I honestly don't think they could make it any worse than what we've done over the last few years. I think, obviously, Rasmus Højlund was a great signing. I love Rasmus Højlund. He's one of my favourite players. But even if you look at Rasmus, to spend £70 million on Rasmus Højlund, that's crazy. Let's be honest. That's absolutely mental amount of money for somebody who I think had got, was it 11 goals in the Serie A last season? Now, just to be very, very clear, I'm not, rubbishing Rasmus Højlund. I love him. I think he is everything you want in a Manchester United player. You know, he's got the passion, he's got the love for it. You can see he cares and all the rest of it. But still, to pay 70 million for somebody at that stage in their career and then not be able to sign Kim Min-jae, who is one of the best centre-backs in the world, for 35 million, when we had an open path at him, you know? Fabrizio was saying at the time that, you know, United were interested, he wanted to go and all the rest of it. And then next thing you know, he goes to Bayern. And the thing that makes it even worse for me, if I'm being completely honest, is that you flash forward a month from then, we get a bid from West Ham for Harry Maguire for 30 million. Just let that sink in for a minute, right? In the summer, we could have bought Kim Min-jae, one of the best centre-backs in world football, who just won the Italian league with Napoli, for 35 million. And then we had an offer from West Ham to sell Maguire for 30 million. Like, if I told you could have Kim Min-jae for 5 million effectively and Maguire would leave, you would have thought that we were in some sort of dream. You would have said I was lying. But to just find this out, you know, today, it just completely blows my mind. But obviously, to look at it from a positive perspective, obviously Richard Arnold's gone. John Murtaugh's not going to have any involvement, in my understanding, of like the director of football type thing. He'll probably get some job, maybe on the financial side. And we just have to hope that Omar Barada and this new team do not make these same mistakes again. Because when I saw this story earlier on today that, you know, it was only 35 million, I honestly couldn't believe it. I really, really couldn't. I was so frustrated, but it is what it is, isn't it? There's not much too much we can do about that. 35 million for him. Oh, honestly, it made my blood boil when I read that. William says, we could have bought Kim Min-jae, but United were too fixated on buying Onana. I mean, Onana's another example, isn't it, really? We spent, I think, what? Was it 50 million on Onana? Let's have a look. We spent, 50 million euros on Onana, 65 million euros on Mason Mount, and 74 million on Rasmus Højlund. And we could have got Kim Min-jae for 45 million euros. We paid 9 million to Fiorentina loan fee just for Amrabat. Like, let that sink in for a minute. Onana, who we didn't even need, cost us more than what Kim Min-jae went for. And a centre-back was arguably the most important position we needed to strengthen other than a striker in the summer. So it is frustrating, and it does, you know, make me even less confident that the people who were running the club knew what they were doing. Keith says, Mason Mount is world-class under a proper manager. Yeah, I like Mason Mount. I do. I think he was good at Chelsea. But the point I'm trying to make here is, unless the plan is to sell Bruno Fernandes, when is Mason Mount going to get played? Bruno Fernandes doesn't get dropped. Imagine dropping Bruno Fernandes. He would literally be throwing his toys at the pram. He would, without a shadow of a doubt. It is frustrating. But let's do a new poll then, just to I'll get a new poll set up in a minute. I just need to think of what the poll's going to be, don't I? That would be the best. That would be the best thing. I got a good question. Let's do this, right? Do you think Højlund? Give me 1 second, guys. I'm just going to get this poll going. Do you think Højlund will become a world-class striker? All right. And the reason I bring this up was just because I'm talking about the amount of money we spent in the summer and how poor the window was, if you look at it overall. Mason Mount was unnecessary, Onana was unnecessary, and Højlund was a good signing. Now, the question that I've got for you now, guys, in the poll is simple. Do you think Rasmus Højlund will become a world-class striker? Now, people saying, oh, you're rubbishing him. I'm not rubbishing him. He's not a world-class striker yet. That would be stupid to say he's a world-class striker now. You know, he's not on the level of an Erling Haaland or a Harry Kane or a Victor Osimhen. And I'm not saying he should be at this stage, because he's only really, played, I think, half a season last year for Atalanta in a proper league. And this is his first year in the Premier League. Now, do I think he'll become world-class? I think so, without a shadow of a doubt. I honestly think Rasmus Højlund will become one of the best strikers in the world. I genuinely believe that. I think he has all of the attributes. I cannot speak more highly of this guy. I really, really can't. I just love everything about him. And I'm so happy that the last kind of 3 or 4 games he started scoring. I saw a stat earlier on today, right, where it showed all the goals scored by forwards who'd moved in the Premier League this season. And there's already rival fans trying to say that Rasmus Højlund's a flop, right? It had like Jackson at Chelsea, it had Kai Havertz, it had all of these other strikers. Rasmus Højlund sat top of the list of goals scored in all competitions this season, out of all of the strikers who moved within the Premier League this season. So he's doing a really, really good job. And if I go back to the videos when I spoke in the summer about him, my goal for him this season was to get 15 goals in all competitions. He's going to easily eclipse that, I think. And obviously, you know, if we were still in the Champions League, which we're not, he probably would get even more than that. But yeah, I honestly could not be more happy with Rasmus Højlund. I think, you know, to be getting the goals he's getting when he doesn't even really get any service, I think it's, you know, a massive, massive credit for him. And I'm so excited to see what he does in the future. But I mean, that's what I really like about this channel, right? 94% of you think that Rasmus Højlund will become a world-class striker on the level of Harry Kane, Victor Osimhen, that kind of level. So that's really, really positive. Ginge says, Kieran, when Harry Kane was on loan, he says, Kieran, when Harry Kane was 20 years old, same age as Højlund, he was on loan on the bench at Norwich City. There you go, mate. He's, you know, for his age and for his current experience to this date, Rasmus Højlund is absolutely smashing it. And I think that if he was in a team where he actually got opportunities, I think he'd be in like 20 plus goals this season easily. William says, Rasmus is a real striker. He buries almost every chance he gets. He's just playing with garbage players. I don't think he's playing with garbage players. I just think he's playing with selfish players. I think he's playing with players who think that scoring is more important than assisting your teammates. And I think that's why, you know, he's not been scoring that much, you know. But I still think 10 goals is pretty good when you actually think about it. He's got 10 goals in 28 appearances. So he's averaging a goal every 2.5 to 3 games, which at this level is decent. You know, all of those goals have come in the Champions League and the Premier League. It's not like they were all against, you know, some conference level team in the League Cup or whatever. It's against decent opponents. So, yeah. I'll read out a couple of your comments quickly before we wrap up the show. Chris says he's trying so hard for the team. Yeah, he is. He 100% is, mate. Definitely. Keith says, Bruno is getting old. We better move him on and play Mount instead, who is younger and has more potential. That's the thing, right? You know, if a massive bid came in the summer for Bruno Fernandes, I would probably accept it. Not because I don't think Bruno is good, but because we've spent all of this money on Mason Mount. He's only 24. Remember that Bruno Fernandes, I think he turns 30 this year. We've got to make Mason Mount work. We can't have another signing who we just, you know, sell in a couple of years for 10 million or let go for free and he sits on the bench for the rest of the time. Like, Mason Mount at Manchester United has to work. It does. And I genuinely think the only way that we can make him work is if he takes Bruno Fernandes' position. Now, I'm not saying he's better than Bruno Fernandes because I don't think he is, but I just don't see how Bruno Fernandes and Mason Mount can rotate because Bruno plays every single game. He's the club captain. He doesn't get injured. So where are you going to play where are you going to play Mason Mount? I know he played, I think, on the right of the right wing for Chelsea, but Garnacho's there now. Like, and we've got Anthony, we've got Ahmad, we've got Pellistri, we've got Jadon Sancho, you've got Mason Greenwood. Like, you've got all of these players who play on the right wing. Mason Mount's never going to play there. So I kind of get it. And in some ways, I want Bruno to go for all of this money, not because I don't think he's a good player and not because I don't like him, but because it will help me then understand why John Murtough and Richard Arnold signed Mason Mount. You know, something will click then and I'll go, I get it. I get why they did that. They were looking at the future. They were thinking, Bruno Fernandes, he's got 2 or 3 years left of his deal. He's nearly 30. Mason Mount's the future. Let's keep Bruno for another season or 2, move him on, and then Mason Mount takes his position. And if that happens, I'll applaud it. You know, if we sell Bruno Fernandes for 100 million or 80 million to some Saudi club, I'll applaud it because I'll say it actually makes sense for the first time. Will this happen? Probably not. Mason Mount will probably just sit on the bench and never play, and then in a few years he'll probably leave, and that'll be it. But I that's why I kind of want it to happen. Jin says, trust me, Mason Mount will sit on the bench. He can't play number 8. Fair enough. Casper says, Højlund can score 20 plus goals this season, even more next season. Yeah, mate, of course he can. He's got, I think, 15 Premier League games left. Obviously, we've got the FA Cup. I will be watching the game tonight, actually. So for anybody who's not got any plans tonight and likes watching football, even if it's not Man United, there is a really, really important game on tonight. 7:45 p.m. kickoff. Nottingham Forest versus Bristol City in the FA Cup. Whoever wins that game, that's who we play in the next round of the FA Cup. So I'm going to watch that. I'm quietly rooting for Bristol City just because I live in Bristol. I don't actually support any Bristol team. I never have all of my life, just because none of my family are from Bristol. I just live in Bristol, and my family are all from up north. But so I've never had like an attachment to a Bristol club. That's why I support Man United, because they're from, up kind of that way. But I'm still going to obviously watch it and would hope that Bristol City win, just because then that'll be an easy game for me to go to if it's in Bristol, But anyway, so I'm going to go and prepare myself to watch that. Have a good day, everybody. A good evening. I'll speak to you all at 11 a.m. UK time tomorrow. Please smash a like on the video before you go. Let's try and see 200 likes on this evening's video. And subscribe as well if you're new. We're nearly on, I think, 21,300, something like that. So if you are new, click the subscribe button. It doesn't cost any money. And I'll speak to you all at 11 a.m. UK time tomorrow.